Afternoon and happy Monday. It is now 6:30 and I call to order this meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Yep, being recorded. In the order of tonight's events will be as follows. For the public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain the proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to the public comment, first in persons in support of the application, and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Each speaker will have the chance to speak once and should keep their comments to less than 5 minutes. Speakers are encouraged to only address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn. Lastly, decisions on rezoning applications will be scheduled for additional public hearing during an upcoming County Board of Commissioners meeting. Decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. Got that? Okay, good. All right, I will call to do roll call for the meeting. Commissioner Hogan.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Poppins.
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling is also here. All right, approval of the meeting minutes. I assume everyone's had a copy and read over them very thoroughly. Any changes to the minutes? I'll ask for a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's meeting minutes, or the July 18th meeting minutes.
I'll second. Scott.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call for approval. Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, tonight's meeting agenda. Mr. Brown, any changes to the agenda?
No change, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, unless the commission has any changes they'd like to make, I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve.
Second, Green.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call for the motion. Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, we're on to old business. Mr. Brown, any old business to bring up?
No old business, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, we'll start our item number 1, our public hearings. Oh, I forgot one. I got excited to get to the business. All right, I will ask for any public comment. So anyone from the public that'd like to speak on any agenda or item that's not on the agenda? Well, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public comment. Now we can get down to business, Mr. Brown.
I was just stalling out, so. This item is an application for a rezone from the A1 Agricultural District to the C Commercial District. The applicant for this item is Allie McLeod. The property owner is Faith Presbyterian Church. This property is approximately 800 feet to the east of the City of Lenox corporate limits. The comprehensive plan identifies this parcel as an urban expansion area, specifically to the City of Lenox. Subject property, as I mentioned, is zoned A1 agricultural. It is adjacent to the west to property that is zoned C commercial. This parcel to the west was rezoned with the other parcels further to the west as part of the Jerry's Auto Sales development, and that was rezoned to commercial in 1999. Subject parcel is 4.59 acres in size. In 1984, the Planning and Zoning Office issued a building permit for a church on that property. And then in 1995, a building permit was issued for a shed on the property for maintenance on the property. The property is, the application or the applicant has submitted a concept plan with the application. The concept would be to replat the property into a Tract 3A, which would be purchased by the applicant. The applicant is proposing to construct an approximate 7,000 square foot building on the property. That building would be utilized as an event center. This is the exhibit that's included. This is a little bit inaccurate. The proposed zoning, the entire parcel is not proposed to be rezoned to commercial, just a portion of it, the 2.4 acres of it, which would be directly to the west. The rest of the property would remain A1 agricultural, and that piece that's part of the church would continue to operate as the church. The only planning and zoning item on this property was in 2019, the Planning Commission did issue a conditional use permit for a group daycare, which was to be operated out of the church. I'm unaware if that's operational or not operational at this point. But again, the church would continue to operate on the parcel, which is identified as Tract 3 on the property. Have been in contact with representatives from the city of Lenox, as they are here tonight, and probably will share some testimony with the Planning Commission. But they had no objection to the application, but I'll let them communicate that more. We did post the property, and the applicant did send written notification to adjacent property owners. As of tonight, our office hasn't received any comments from any of the adjoining property owners prior to the meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any question for staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a couple, I guess. So this isn't currently, obviously, it's not part of the city of Lenox, but it's not part of their expansion plan like we get with some of the other requests?
It is, so on our comprehensive plan, it's identified as an urban expansion area, and the city of Lenox comprehensive plan does cover this area. Their comprehensive plan does identify what I'll call the creek area as kind of a future park area, and then they identify the rest of it as future residential area. But again, been in contact with city staff, and they voiced no objection to the application.
Okay. And just so I understand it right, when we're looking at that plat, you got the church, then you got everything that goes to the west that looks like it's farmed, and so we're gonna split that plat in half. If it's rezoned, is that, maybe not half, but you're gonna split that original plat, correct?
Yep, so the original plat is 4.59 acres, and I believe that's in conjunction right now as the city of Lenox. They do have subdivision authority over this property. And the applicant has submitted an application to the city, and the city is, I believe, in the process of approving that parcel split. But what's for your consideration or recommendation tonight would just be 2.40 acres of it, or proposed Tract 3A of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing anything, by approving, we wouldn't be doing anything with the church.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Commissioners, any additional follow-up questions? Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will ask the applicant to come forward and speak a little bit more about their proposal.
I'm Allie, as Toby said. I'm really excited about this, so.
Excuse me, Ellie, can I get your address, please?
Oh, yeah, it's 1009 West Long Creek Drive in Lenox. We just moved this past weekend, so.
Oh,
We're
congratulations.
fully not unpacked yet. I had to find clothes out of a box to come. But yeah, my name's Allie. I'm really excited, so please help the rest of this process go smoothly so we can get breaking ground in October is the plan, October 15th. I have had several meetings with Sarah, who's the pastor at the church, the Faith Presbyterian Church. She knows all of my plans for the inside of the building, all the events that we plan on hosting. I've talked to all the surrounding farmers, residential homes, Jerry's Auto, along with the application for the replat. I've also agreed with the city that when their city limits do reach me, that I do plan to annex into the city, which happy about. And I guess, do you guys have any questions for me about the event hall?
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
So I have a couple, Mr. Chairman. So what types of events? You said you know the church is aware of all the types of events. What types of events are you planning on doing out of there?
I hate to say this because it's such a cliche, but when you have an event space, the possibilities are endless. But on the website, which you guys can write down, it'll be in the paper next week anyways, in the Linux. It's www.prospercountrywarehouse.com. It'll mainly be weddings, and then birthdays, holiday events, vendor events. You can rent it hourly for a party, holiday MOTS, which is moms of toddlers, moms of preschoolers. My husband is a teacher in Lennox right now. He's been there for 10 years, so we're really excited to finally be a part of the community. We love our kids. We have 3 kids, and we honestly just want to also create a really safe space for the kids to come to, especially teenagers. When my husband and I were growing up in a small town, that was kind of hard to find. You know, everyone was either all drinking or the total opposite end of things. So there'll be a foosball table, there'll be a pool table, there'll be bag tournaments. Obviously, there'll be alcohol on the premises, just a beer and wine license for the weddings and any other birthday parties that rent the space. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that, especially as our kids get older and come into middle school. My oldest is only 8. Well, she'll be 8 in September. But yeah, and I'm excited to see what the city uses it for. Obviously, I'll be marketing to Sioux Falls as well, since it's only 20 minutes west of Sioux Falls. And from all the research that I've done, it's kind of hard to... every place is booked. So, I mean, it's still a really good, growing, lucrative business that people keep looking for to book weddings especially. And, yeah.
Then I assume you have some sort of architectural design
Yep.
that will fit in with, maybe it's not gonna look like the church, but just what type of design would it be?
I'm so happy you asked. I love talking about it. The theme is modern industrial. I feel like the barn theme, I guess, is a little overdone. Maybe it'll phase out after a couple of years. So black metal building. There's a preliminary picture of it on the website because we haven't done any interior stuff. I have interior layouts, but no design. We're doing that with Vandewall next week through Pesca Construction. That's who they work with. But there'll be obviously a large event area on the lower floor, a kitchen, bathrooms. There'll be a double garage and a half, and the part of the double garage will be like a men's den or groom's den, I guess. There'll be a mezzanine above the bathrooms in the kitchen, which is the bridal suite, or any small meetings could be held up there as well. It's a pretty large room. There'll be a back patio. Yeah, it's pretty basic. I did that on purpose so that I wouldn't have to wait very long structurally wise to have it completed, because the hope is January, but everyone keeps telling me that I'm dreaming, even though my contractor said that's the date we're shooting for. I even have it opening, I believe, I don't have my phone in front of me, but January 23rd, I think, 22nd, that weekend. So I hope you all come.
And then, do you plan on purchasing the property from the church, or is the church going, okay?
Yep, we have a purchase agreement.
Oh, you do have a
Yep,
purchase
and then I'm closing on that pending the rezone. And then after the next Board of Commissions meeting in September, or sooner if it's sooner than that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do for water and sewer there currently?
Currently, it'll be rural water, which
Okay.
I've already submitted that, and they're on board. They're going to do that pretty soon. He even said probably before the end of August. And then we'll have a septic tank. It's still in conversation whether we'll have a septic tank or a septic drainage field, but one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess maybe some of those questions can be for Mr. Lennox there when he gets up, so.
Yeah, eventually, I think the plan is to extend out that way.
Right.
And then convert it, which,
And when and if and when they do, you'd be for hooking up to
Yep.
city services. Okay.
All right, commissioners, any additional questions?
With having weddings there, I live in Harrisburg, obviously the barn's here. I know, kind of get complaints of like the bands or whatever at weddings playing late.
Yep.
And you said you've talked to all the surrounding like farmers and stuff, and so they're aware that bands could be playing late. Are you gonna put a cutoff time for the bands?
I
or-
am, yep. For a long time, most event places or obviously bars still are open until 2. But yeah, it'll be midnight. It won't go past midnight till the next day.
Okay.
All right, that was my question, so,
Yep, and the pastor had extensively asked me questions about that, and her and I will be continually having conversations. If there's any issues, I don't want any issues, so the church and I will just remain in contact. If they have any complaints, then we'll work around it. I've also agreed to not host any events Sunday mornings between their service times. There'll be a fence, but not a privacy fence, more of just like a boundary fence, because they were kind of worried about litter, basically. I also I'm paying to have the highway put in a shared access point, which will be halfway, like right at our property line, basically. And then I'll own half and then they'll own half because they were not willing to share theirs. And so I said, well, let's make a new one then.
So that's one thing, and, when we make these decisions, it's forever, right? So it's whether you own it or the next person or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what the
you
pastor
might-
said, too.
You might have a good relationship and a good agreement with the neighboring church. But if for whatever reason you sold it and the next person decided they wanted to do whatever they wanted to on Sunday mornings, right? So would you be opposed to that being an added condition?
No, and it's only for the service time. So if their service times ever change, you don't want to say you can't operate during, 9 and 10:30 because a lot of churches change their service times depending on seasons or whatever. So if it was stated during the church's current service time, no.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking was, I don't-
there are churches with like Saturday night services also.
yeah.
She just requested Sunday.
Okay.
But they don't have very many events. I mean, I think there's like 15 members right now, and then they're renting out a portion of it to, help me, it's like a nonprofit that's renting part of the church. And they do like youth meetups and stuff like that. I've also been very open to her using the facility if she needs to, if they need overflow for parking. And she said the same thing, but I don't think that'll be an issue. I've more than the required parking spaces, I guess.
The conditions wouldn't come until, because right now we're just talking about the rezone, right? So not conditions.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Until we would approve the.
Right.
Save time later.
All right, if no any questions from the commission? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application come forward and speak.
We'll get to talking about the project.
Right.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nate Vanderplot, City Administrator and Zoning Administrator in Lennox. I can't speak for it in favor or in opposition. I can simply speak to whether it's meeting what the city requires at this point. So this proposed Track 3A is in front of our Planning Commission this coming Thursday evening. I don't see any issues with approval. I anticipate approval at the Planning Commission and then on to the City Council the following Monday. One of the things we require on plats within that planning jurisdiction is a pre-annexation agreement, so that's already been agreed to by the applicant and will be in front of the planning, or the city council, I should say, next week, Monday. In terms of comprehensive plan, on our comprehensive plan, this area lays out as future recreational or parkway area. That's simply a placeholder for anything that shows up that could or might be in a floodplain. Seeing that it's adjacent to existing commercially zoned property, we would have no real objection to seeing this move forward. I've worked with Ms. McLeod over the last number of months to try and find a place that would work for them, and we're happy that this is an option. In terms of utilities, at this point, we don't have anything over there, though we did bore under 17 this summer with one of our major projects. So water is available east of the highway now in areas where it wasn't before. But until we annex further to the east, there'd be really no reason for us to extend at this point. And the same with sanitary sewer. Once sanitary sewer is within 200 feet of the building, that's when we would require them to connect. So my guess is there's time here yet, but as quickly as things change in today's market in T, Harrisburg, and Lennox, there's really no way of knowing how soon annexation will happen in that direction. So again, no real concerns from the city of Lennox. I anticipate this plat will be approved at both levels. It's been completely in compliance with our requirements, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's no one else in favor of the application, I will ask anybody in opposition of the application. No, someone got me that last week. Not doing that again, no. All right, with that, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone.
I'll second.
All right, motion a second. Any further discussion?
So, I mean, we've had, you know, we've had a lot of discussion on rezones in the last few months, I guess, and I think it's something we have to take pretty serious. And, you know, I guess one of the things I look at is who's in opposition, how does it fit in with the adjacent municipality or other like zoning things around it. And I guess, in my opinion, and why I'll support it tonight is there isn't any opposition. The city of Lennox seems to have been in good communication with, or the applicant's been in good communication with the city of Lennox. And it seems like a lot of the things that we talk about in other rezone situations has been worked out ahead of time, and so I like that. And the fact that it, you know, it's gonna basically square up a like zoned property right on the edge of a municipality that's gonna become part of the municipality real soon and shortly. I guess, to me, this is one that makes sense, so.
I agree with everything you said. I'm thankful and impressed that she went through the extent that she did to work with everybody, the city, all those around her, to get all of her ducks in a row, to work with the church, to get that good relationship working with them. So I'll definitely be supporting this tonight.
Yeah, me too. All right, well, with that, Commissioner Poppins, do you have any comment? You're good to go?
Quick comment would be as a reminder, what's in front of us always sounds to be a good use of the property. Once we've gone through the process of rezoning it, and if the individual that's applying at the time changes, we no guarantee as to what's coming next. Absolutely, at this point, it sounds like a good fit for what's proposed to be on it. But again, once it's been rezoned, then it kind of opens up the door. So I do want to always urge us caution when we're looking at rezoning. It's not just for today, it's for tomorrow and 20 years from now. But given that the city has given its blessing in essence for this, I will support it.
All right, with that, I will do roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Unanimous, congratulations. All right. With that, we will move on to new business. Mr. Brown?
So the only new business item we have is just an update review of some of the actions of the Board of Commissioners since our previous Planning Commission. So if you recall, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of 2 rezonings last month, I guess, and those were the LG Everest, which is at the Harrisburg exit, and which was a rezone to a planned development district. And then the second one was out here on Highway 18, it'd be the southwest quadrant, and that was Avery Zahn's rezone from commercial to light industrial to facilitate his business. The Board of Commissioners did accept both your recommendations, did approve both of those rezonings on those properties. That's the only action. Upcoming action would be the Kelly Nielsen rezone, which is just north of 110. That'll be at next week's Board of Commissioners meeting. And I did have some discussion with the chair prior to the meeting about how we could communicate what that recommendation was, which was an affirmative motion, but the affirmative motion didn't pass, so it was a recommended denial, was essentially that. So by all means, if you want to communicate whatever actions to the board that you would like to do, you can facilitate that through me, or you can come to that meeting and do that. I shared with the chair that in my summary of that is just that you felt that it wasn't in conformance with the comprehensive plan. But if there's additional comments that you want to add to that, you can certainly do that too. So, but any questions or comments on those items?
No, I just thought, I mentioned it to Toby ahead of time here, that, sometimes, we make a recommendation and we have our thoughts and our beliefs, and sometimes it might help the county commissioners to actually make a decision one way or another based on the conversation rather than just, we recommend no. Why we thought that way, so. Maybe not every time, but I didn't know if it'd help if someone showed up or had a statement for the meeting to say, this is why we did it.
Yep. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today as well, and, and one other thought I had on that exact thing, Jerry, is I would encourage the county commission when they get these, they can go back and watch the discussion that we had and the thought process that we had, and why we came to that conclusion. And I don't, hopefully that's happening, because I feel like we were just talking about it beforehand, and I think there was a lot of thought and effort put into it. And then in that specific area, I went home after the meeting that night and pulled up the map. And unfortunately, that's just a really messy spot in the county. In that quarter section or right in that area, all 4 zones are represented.
Yep.
And they're all touching and intermingled, and you can't find any other spot in the county that's like that, other than right there. And I don't know who's gonna fix it, or give us some more direction, but it just seems like it's a bigger issue to me, I guess, than just this one application, But yeah, Toby, if you click on the zoning and look at all the different colors right there, it's hit your zone.
What I wanted to show first is that, so one thing, this is another kind of a reason why the necessity to update the comprehensive plan is if you go back to what I showed you before, as far as the previous the current comprehensive plan shows a growth area that's not proportionate to what it is today. So the city of Harrisburg has plating jurisdiction over that property. So much like tonight, if our comp plan would reflect that, you would say that that's an urban expansion area. Granted, it's 3 miles away from the city of Harrisburg, but it sort of fits into the whole relationship of working with the cities for growth and expansion and that too. But I'll flip it to the zoning side once. So,
And the non-color is agriculture. So, that's what we've got right there. And that you zoom around the rest of the county, you don't have that anywhere but on that exit.
Yeah.
And then you take into consideration that, and I went back and reread all the verbiage in the comprehensive plan, and it's very clear in that comprehensive plan that we stay to these interstate exits, we stay within it shows on there within a half a mile, and that we sparingly rezone this A1 agricultural stuff to commercial and industrial, and that it specifically states in there that only do it when it's a convenience for businesses that are in the country, example, agriculture. And then specifically states over and over, to put those types of zones and businesses in your municipalities. And I can't disagree with that, and I don't know, I mean, we can redo our comprehensive plan, but I don't know how they're gonna say that that's any different today, because we end up with a mess like this then. And that's just my opinion, but anyway, not to rehash last month's thing, but that's what was going through my head, and yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about it afterwards too, and I'm like, how do you fix what's already happened up there without, and maybe the way to fix it is you just put it on hold and let it just naturally work itself out too, I mean, just because things have been done in the past doesn't mean that we continue to do them just to do them either,
When I think, Wendy Kenner, won't speak to this or will speak to this, but I think Harrisburg will be there within a few years.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think to answer your question is I think there'll be plans in place for Harrisburg to annex that area, and continue to develop it, manage it.
In my personal opinion, it'd be better to let Harrisburg do it how they want to do it than us get ahead of the horse and say, and then they have to come in and fix it how they want to, just the way I look at it, but.
Yeah, and that's been kind of our goal, I guess, in the last year, 2 years is, just let the municipals expand out and not start creating little islands all over the place and then have to merge and do it later at a higher cost, and who knows how that would work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you're saying with this one, Mr. Scott, I don't know if there is a fix, but I mean, it's just we can do what's best for the surrounding area, and then, and in this or anything, we've run into it lots of times with multi-zones and multi-things all over the place, and sometimes we just do the best we can with what's there.
Right. The other thing the comprehensive plan specifically states is that to use the discretion of rezoning this outside, in these areas, only when other land isn't available. That's like zoned, So, like I was talking to Toby after the meeting, I mean, if you scroll up and you go into the stuff that's already zoned this way, up into by the airport, there's a bunch of that zone type property already there that isn't being used.
Yep.
And so I guess I would like to see us use up what's already been rezoned before we're rezoning a bunch more outside of what the comprehensive plan calls for. I mean, if we completely stacked all the interstate exits and the half mile on either side of the interstate and all that land is taken up, well then, yeah, naturally we're gonna have to move out, right? But that hasn't happened yet, in my opinion.
If you wait for Harrisburg to take over, because Harrisburg will be there. My recollection is that they are going to want that to be an industrial park area.
Mhm.
So they can deal with it then. I mean, working relationship with Nielsen. I've spoke with a couple of our councilmen over this. Matter of fact, that night I was communicating with them as we were discussing things, and I mean, that's, I believe, I'm 95% sure that is their plan. They want that industrial, so, yeah, I mean, once they get out there, let them decide if that's what they want.
And I think that'd be great, and if Harrisburg decides by the time they get out there, they wanna do that, then they can support it, they can design it how they want to, because they're the ones that are gonna have to service it.
Right.
Well, I think, yes, I agree with everything, and those are great comments. What the challenge is that we collectively need to look at these areas on a case-by-case basis and say, okay, what's appropriate to fit? And then beyond that is, I think we are doing a better job of the part where, again, like Lennox has subdivision authority tonight they look at the water, the sewer to see how it all fits. And Harrisburg's doing that too, but Harrisburg's a little bit larger scale of a growth. I mean, they're going in all directions, miles. I mean, and so a lot of that's collectively all got to work together on and communicate better on and things like that. But ultimately, yes, the challenge in this north half of the county is premature development. Because ultimately when these cities, and T is really the first one that's been doing it, but they annex quite a bit of industrial area in between their former corporate limits and the airport. And the retrofit on that is very expensive. I mean, to take an acre lot and to get water, sewer, storm sewer, road in there and things like that, that cost is borne by the property owner. The city doesn't pay for that in the future. And so, a lot of these areas, it's going to be challenging. And really, when we look at a lot of these areas, including Sioux Falls coming down, I mean, you're talking within 5 to 10 years, they might be into some of these areas that they might have to retrofit, or these areas we're looking at today developing, that they might be here quicker than we think. So it's really, that's the part of the planning that we need to do is not so much how we deal with what's there, it's how we deal with what's coming and how we can better plan for to make sure. And the challenge becomes is, do you tell a landowner that, well, the city's not going to be there for another 10, 15, 20 years, so we're not going to let you do anything? That's the conundrum of planning,
Well,
right?
Yeah, but, and I don't think we're saying that. I think what we're saying first off is go by what the comprehensive plan recommends. And the comprehensive plan doesn't recommend that my quarter in Norway Township, should get to be zoned commercial and industrial. Would it be worth more? Maybe, but that doesn't fit the comprehensive plan. And so, I mean, sorry if you own land 2 miles east of the Harrisburg exit. Yeah, someday it's going to be worth some money, but I don't think that's on us to say, well, it should just be, you're holding me back because it should be commercial. No, we're going off the recommendation, what the comprehensive plan says. And when the comprehensive plan was written, you owned that land or you purchased that land after the comprehensive plan. You knew what it said. Nobody changed the rules on you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that sometimes we get held to that, well, you aren't letting me maximize the value of my land. If I could put a 10,000 head feedlot up on my farm, that would be more valuable than raising hay, corn, and soybeans. So, but we do that to farmers, right? I mean, there's rules in place, and the comprehensive plan recommends that we don't get to do those things. So, I don't think we have to. I see where you're coming with that, Toby, and I can see where that's. Yeah, it is a case-by-case thing, because there are things like tonight that, there really isn't anywhere in the comprehensive plan that set that one out and said that this makes sense either, but it kind of does, so. But yeah, I don't know what the county does from the Harrisburg exit to Harrisburg with the land in between. But at the same time, I don't know that it's our responsibility to I think it's our responsibility to look at it. But I sure don't think that any of us up here are in a position to change the strong recommendations from the comprehensive plan just because we think that things are different now,
Yeah, and again, the dialogue needs to happen, and that'll happen with the comprehensive plan update.
Yeah, I think that, and that'll be great.
I think we all want answers, because there's a part of us that says, hey, this comp plan, and I've heard some people say it's outdated. I wouldn't say it's outdated. I would just say it needs to be reviewed, and go through that process. But I think many citizens and many of our board would argue that needs to be reviewed. And that's where we're headed with it. And so I think a lot of these things will be answered, and we won't have to think about it at that point in time too. Okay, so any other questions or comments? Otherwise, that's the last item for this evening.
I just want to say thanks for this, for updating us on, on the decisions or the recommendations we make and how they come back. I don't always get a chance to watch the county commission meetings, and so thanks for taking the time to do that, Toby.
Thanks
I
for you guys
appreciate
doing
it.
what you do. You're volunteering to do this, and so it's appreciated, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to adjourn.
Second? Green?
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Against?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you much.
Is he for or against? He said aye twice.